All righty. We are finally live. Woo woo. We don't have any sound effects yet, but thank you for everybody for tuning in. Okay, so today is my first episode of Chop It Up Live. So let me tell you what we're talking about today. Of course, we're talking about all things George Floyd. So we're going to have a guest on today, attorney Justin Bamberg, amazing attorney. He's assisted cases with Walter Scott, Alton Sterling, you name it, he's been there. So we are going to have him on. So you guys can actually comment if you're watching on YouTube. You can comment there. If you're watching on Facebook, you can comment there. So what we today we're going to be discussing is facts. So if you see me look away from the screen, these are my notes from a broadcast. Okay. So let's start with the facts. What was he actually charged with? All right. So first, and actually, you know what? Justin is on. We're going to bring him on to the screen. Hey, Justin, can you hear me?
Hey, I can. What's going on?
Oh, good. Thank you for hopping on with me today. We were just about to get into discussing the facts. So before we do, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. I did inform that you are an attorney, but you have so much more to you. Let the audience know exactly who you are.
All right, so I'm Justin Bamberg. I'm a practicing attorney in South Carolina. Been practicing now, I think since beginning of 2012. Do a lot of personal injury, wrongful death work, but I do a lot of civil rights litigation. You may have heard of some of the cases I've been involved in. Most notably, the Walter Scott incident down in North Charleston, South Carolina.
Right.
Keith Scott up in Charlotte. That case is actually still going on, believe it or not. The same with Alton Sterling in Baton Rouge. I think the most recent, I represent Skylar Davis, the 11-year-old African-American girl in Aiken, South Carolina, who was assaulted by a 38-year-old white woman.
Yes, and I'm upset about that.
Yeah, getting the mail for her grandmother.
Right.
So I've done a lot in the legal arena, but I'm also a state representative in South Carolina, representing Bamberg, Baltimore, Colleton counties. Currently on the House Judiciary Committee at the State House here.
Mm-hmm.
First Vice Chair of Civil Asset Forfeiture Committee, studying that. Recently appointed to deal with business liability with COVID-19 and businesses opening back up. What's going to go on with that in South Carolina? So I wear a lot of hats.
You do, and because you wear those many hats is why we have you on today. So where we were starting at before you came in, starting with the facts, and we were talking all George Floyd today. So the first fact that we know is he was arrested and charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter. Now, social media, of course, is in a frenzy because they feel first-degree murder should be attached. But what I've always said is you have to ensure that you charge individuals correctly. So with the evidence that points to the letter of the law, that you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt to get a conviction. Now, in your opinion and with your expertise, do you think that the county attorney got it correct with murder in the third degree and manslaughter?
Well, for starters, before I get into that, I do want to point out, our prayers are with Mr. Floyd, his family, the
Right.
community in Minneapolis and across America, people who are hurting right now. What's going on up there. I think this is the first time I am ever aware of rebellion, as some call it. Some call it a riot.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's gotten to the point where even police stations are set on fire and things are really tight up there. And, we just got to make sure that everybody makes it home safe at the end of the night.
Right.
We see in law enforcement incidents a couple of things. Number one, most of the time, law enforcement officers never even get charged. Okay, that's what we're used to. So, yes, we do have a charge. I think that it took way too long, and I've got some facts here.
Okay.
That officer had his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
I believe that was in the complaint. And I actually was looking at that. Right.
Yeah, 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
2 minutes and 53 seconds of that was while he was unresponsive.
Correct, right? And you know, I'm gonna touch on the charges, but some of this I've been waiting. V, I was like, all right, we're gonna talk about some stuff. I was waiting.
Let's do it.
Dude, this same department in the same city, they were sued back in 2013. Okay, they asphyxiated somebody to death. All right. And as a result of that, they paid like $3 million and some change or something like that.
And that's all they paid was $3 million.
Yeah. They were supposed to all undergo specific training on position of suspects, for example, on effectively like not suffocating people, not asphyxiating people. And that's one thing that makes this even more, so much more egregious is they did not learn from their mistakes the first damn time. Okay. Right. Here you have an individual who, and if you've seen, you know, the attorneys, Ben Crump is up there, Lee Merritt's up there, my boy Chris Stewart, Justin Miller, like it's a squad of cats up there right now. And more information has been coming out. George was in cuffs for a long time before this happened, right? So his hands were behind his back. He's restrained. At some point, he ends up on the ground, and he was already handcuffed. There was no reason for him to be in that position in the first place. There was no reason for this officer to have his knee in this gentleman's neck in the first place. And he literally went through these stages of asphyxiation. We're still waiting on an autopsy report and things like that, but
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I have that autopsy report.
You do?
Yes, it was via, let me see, hold on one second. It was via CNN. Mm-hmm. And let's see, you can go ahead and finish it out, and I'll bring it up.
Okay. Yeah, so like you go through phases. So what we see all the time when officers choke citizens out in some way, shape, or form is the citizen says, bro, I can't breathe. Or they're verbalizing, right? And the cops will turn and say, oh, if you can talk, you can breathe, right? It's just like having an asthma attack, right? Or you might still be able to talk, but that doesn't mean you can breathe fully. Like you're slowly losing oxygen, right? And he goes from verbal and moving to barely being verbal. And if you watch, there's a point, and it's hard to, like, I literally cried when I saw it.
I haven't even watched it.
I saw the picture first, and I said, not again. And I couldn't watch the video. And I waited till the end of the day when I finished all my work, and I sat down and I watched it, and it broke my heart to watch another brother die like this again.
Man.
You know? And he goes through, I don't want to get too graphic, but to a person who's supposed to be trained, they should have recognized the signs that he was entering a time period of medical distress with regards to oxygen deprivation.
Right.
And that makes this even more egregious, you know? So do I think the charges were adequate, right? I think that they're good charges. If you look, a big part of this, and some people say, nah, it's murder in the first degree, right? There are things called, you get technically with the law, a mens rea requirement, right? Now, to a lot of us, I look at that and I see, you know, oh, this cop meant to cause physical injury. That's the only reason you could think to put a knee on a neck. So he meant to hurt him. The question is, did he mean to kill him or not, right? Is he just an idiot? Is he just callous? Does he just not value a brown life, right? And the murder in the third degree charge, I think, is one that from the moment the ink hit that paper, it is a convictable offense. I think he is subject to getting the max, which I believe is 25 or 30 years in that situation. Mm-hmm. It's very hard. Even if you look back to Walter Scott, if you can look, let's see this side right here. There, I still keep the image in my office at home. That was 8 shots in the back from damn near 100 feet away, and the state court hung a jury on a straight murder charge. So it's a very difficult battle to convict the officer of like murder in the first degree. But I do think that he is toast. The question now is, are they going to follow through? Are they going to get the other officers who sat by and watched this happen and watched their partner go too far? And are they going to work towards accountability, right? There's a reason why Minneapolis is on fire.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And a friend of mine is actually there, and he messaged me prior to this, and he said, they are burning stuff up. And really quick, so this is what CNN said, because when the county attorney spoke, he said that the complaint would be available later and that, the media could put it together and figure out, because apparently there was another piece of evidence. So it says here, and I quote, the autopsy revealed no physical findings that support a diagnosis of traumatic asphyxia or strangulation. Mr. Floyd had underlying health conditions, including coronary artery disease and hypertensive heart disease. The combined effects of Mr. Floyd being restrained by the police, his underlying health conditions, and any potential intoxicants in his system likely contributed, to his death, end quote. Does that change how you feel?
Hell no.
Right.
At the end of the day,
right.
But for the officer putting his knee on his neck in that fashion, causing him pain, right? Contributing to his inability to breathe, increasing his stress levels, and all of the above, he would still be here today and be dealing with whatever BS charges they were going to bring against him, right? And we see it all the time, and I will say I'm surprised that an autopsy report came back that fast, because a lot of times you're waiting months. I mean, it was in Keith Scott's incident in Charlotte, we had to go and get our own autopsy performed because we weren't able to get the results from the forensic examiner's office. So I don't care how anybody tries to spin this thing, right?
Right.
This man was murdered, period. Right. And we got to hold, quite frankly, I don't think it should be the end of it. There is a federal civil rights violation charge on the board.
Exactly.
It is one of the most powerful tools available to the United States Department of Justice. If a Department of Justice realistically wants to cut down on abuse of authority and abuse of citizens by law enforcement. And if they don't use it, right, it's going to fall in line with everything we've been hearing from the Trump administration since he took office, right? Which is only the cops matter and citizens don't. Right. And you don't have to pick sides. This isn't about law enforcement versus citizens. That's why we've seen so many chiefs and law enforcement members across the country who are speaking out. Like, think about Trayvon, think about Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, who was a child, right? Ahmaud Arbery, right? Terrence Crutcher. Think about all these different people, and you have never seen this many law enforcement officers speak out in a public forum against the officer conduct the way that we've seen here. And I mean, enough is enough.
Yeah, and then I'm sitting here, and everybody that's watching, when you see me look away at the screen, I'm either looking at my notes or at my phone about what we're talking about, and I'm actually rereading some of the complaint. And I guess what bothers me is they charged him, the second count was manslaughter in the second degree, culpable negligence creating unreasonable risk, but the maximum is only 10 years.
Yeah, let me read this. All right, so hitting on that third degree murder and manslaughter, okay? Here's the provisional law. I want to read it verbatim, okay?
Okay.
For that third degree murder charge, whoever without intent to affect the death of any person causes the death of another by perpetrating an act imminently dangerous. I'm going to say that again, imminently dangerous to others and evidencing a depraved mind without regard for human life, is guilty of murder in the third degree and may be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 25 years. Okay.
Okay.
If you look at that language, literally almost word for word, it matches easily what we see, right? You know, if he's gonna say, well, I didn't intend to kill him, I was pinning him down, or I was flexing my authority as an officer, or I was just in a bad mood, or whatever other BS excuse he may want to come up with, at the end of the day, 8 minutes and some change in that position violates every single bit of law enforcement training you possibly could have.
Exactly.
You either were an idiot or you just did not care, right?
Now,
And the 10 years you mentioned, you know, if he gets convicted, I don't see him getting convicted of like third degree murder and manslaughter. Okay.
Right.
He's charged with both. One of those is going to stick at the end of the day. And a lot of times.
Right. And that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. V, when you see prosecutors charged with both, it's generally to make it a little more fail safe. Like, you know, we're going to shoot for the moon and maybe we'll land in the stars type setup.
Now, one of the other things that I was watching an interview with a young lady, her name was something Santa Maria or something like that. Anyway, she owned a club. And she said that Derek Chauvin, who is the officer, and both George Floyd, both worked for her. And she said that Derek Chauvin, on the nights where the club had more of a black base, you know, he was always, you know, quick to spray mace, quick to just judge, just quick to be extra. And she felt like if George Floyd had a chance to say, hey, bro, it's me, remember me, then maybe he would still be alive. And I'm wondering, like, you know, as in most folks that I know who are, you know, in law enforcement are very, very observant. So they remember faces. So if he worked at that club for 17, however many years he worked, I think it was 11 years or something like that, how could he not remember him? And how could that not play a factor in this case? Now, do I think he woke up with it on his mind? Hey, I'm gonna kill somebody today. I definitely don't think that was on his mind. But at the very least, the other officers who now with the third video are showed, which we already knew, kneeling down as well, pinning him down. At the very least, it should be accessory to third degree murder or accessory to manslaughter.
Yeah. Well, all right. So the first part, well, I'm going to address the second part first, right?
Okay.
I was just talking about this today with a law enforcement buddy of mine, right? If I call you, I say, yo, V, look, bro, I need a ride to the gas station real quick. You got a car, I don't. You pick me up. And we go to the gas station. And while you're sitting waiting on me to come out, I run in and I do a stick up, rob them and shoot and kill the clerk. And I come out and jump in the whip and tell you to drive off. I'm getting charged with murder and you getting hit with hand of one is the hand of all, felony murder. And we both going down. That's what happens to black and brown people in America. Okay.
That's right.
But when we talk about law enforcement, ain't no such thing as the hand of one is the hand of all. Right? It's like, all right, who was like the worst actor of the group? You know, like imagine if regular people in America could use that as a defense. Like the prisons would be half empty right now.
Right.
You know? So yeah, they need to get all of them for participating and allowing things to escalate to the point that we're having a funeral instead of a court date for George. Right? That needs to be handled. You know, this whole idea of if the officer had time, you know, maybe George would have said, hey, man, you remember me? But the unfortunate reality is that in America, a lot of times, once a person dons the badge, the gun, uniform, everything else in the moment kind of gets blocked out, right? You know, if it's like
we don't have a chance at that point.
Yeah, if it's like a routine traffic stop, like, oh, hey, hey, Mr. Bamberg, blah, 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 right? One-on-one, calm, cool, chill. When you take that interaction and you put it in a public forum, right? So on a street corner, outside a store with onlookers, with people pulling out phones, with other officers, all of a sudden you ain't thinking about who this person is, right? You're just like, let me handle this black dude real quick. That's what a lot of officers think, right? They don't even look at you, and not everyone, of course, right? So I don't want to be that broad, but there's a big problem here. Like, if
very much so,
if George was a white man, I wouldn't be on this show talking to you. None of us would be here right now. We would be dealing with something else, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing if you look to Bree in Kentucky, right? And you look to Ahmad in Brunswick, Georgia. You look to Skylar Davis in Aiken, South Carolina, who's an 11-year-old black girl. There's a problem here. And if we don't talk about it, we ain't never going to be able to fix it.
You know, and I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I said, you know, I feel like, and this is not all white people, but, you know, some, I don't know if it's like something subliminal that is almost like programmed to see a threat or to feel threatened. And that young girl in South Carolina, for those of you guys who don't know, the young lady was going to get her grandmother's mail, and this older white woman assaulted this girl because she thought the girl was stealing her mail. And when she realized she was totally wrong, she offered them freaking cookies. Like, don't get me started, because and I'm from Edgefield, South Carolina, which is right down the street.
So you know us, yeah.
I'm not surprised. And the fact that her husband stood in the doorway and didn't open his mouth, had those kids fought back, God, I can't even think of which direction that would have went in. So you're right. We have a problem. Breonna Taylor, problem. You have a sergeant and 2 or 3 officers kicking in the door on a narcotics charge with a no-knock warrant, the wrong address.
Wrong address. And you don't even get the chance to explain, I'm sorry, y'all, you have a mistake. You're at the wrong house. Like, you're not afforded the opportunity to, you're not afforded normal human dignity that some people get in America. And, you know, even me, I still remember, as though it happened this morning, one of the worst run-ins I ever had with law enforcement. It was the most traumatizing experience of my life to date. You just don't forget that, the way it makes you feel. And you go home and, you know, every day, V, we're cutting the TV on, we're scrolling through social media. It's another hashtag, right? It's another, this was done to a young minority kid, or this was done to a black guy, or, you know, this was done to an African-American female. And repetitive trauma. If you're a minority in America, you are being subjected to perpetual, repetitive trauma. And people have tried, right? Like, everyone's condemning riots right now. Like, me personally, I'm not with riots. I don't think it's a sound decision to make your voice heard, to tear up your own community, because then you're the only one that ends up suffering, right? But I do understand the frustration there and the anger there when you try to silently protest and not bother anybody. You just want to take a knee for a minute during a song. That's the wrong way to do it. When you show up to a council meeting and you're raising your voice and trying to do things politically, you just get ushered out of the council meeting by the police. That's the wrong way to do it. When you march through the streets peacefully, right, you get bullied by law enforcement and people call you names, and you shouldn't be doing that. That's not the right way to do it. So if everything you try, and look what happens. There's a big riot, a city set on fire, but hey, at least the cops are charged. So I understand, you know, and it's just like, where do we go from here? Like, how do we fix it, V?
You know, and I think a few years ago I would have said, no, I'm not with. I'm let's march. But I think me personally, I'm past it because I guess I'm tired, and being the mom of two boys, it's rough, you know. My husband, who's also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, I see it back in the background.
Right.
Had to have a talk with his son about encounters with the police before the birds and the bees. And like Megan Morris just commented, and she said was that she's been stopped alone as a white female, and I've been stopped with a black male in my car, and the stops were totally different. And the whole point of different community programs to bridge the gap in Charlotte, there's one of the many programs that I know of that I've worked with was Cops and Barbers, and they literally were trying to encourage community policing to bridge that gap. When you are having to make contact with someone that you routinely are in this neighborhood and you know them, it's a lot easier to talk to them, figure out what's going on, and engage with community policing than it is when you don't know. And one of the things in Minneapolis that I researched, a lot of the police department are not from there. They don't even live there. So they don't know the community. They don't know they don't know these people. And bridging into Derek Chauvin, this is a man who has 12 complaints. He's been involved in situations before where
I think it's like 18. Like 18.
Right. Right. And then Amy Klobuchar, who we saw attempting to run as a Democratic nominee for president, declined to prosecute. Yep. So at this point, I know that people are like, you know what, I'm not voting. It's not going to matter. But man, the votings the elections at your local level are probably more powerful and more important at this point than the presidential election. We got people. You got like the county attorney, Lee Merritt. Actually, a friend of mine is an activist. And Lee Merritt was speaking today to him, and he mentioned Keith Ellis, who I think is the attorney general.
He's the former AG up there. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what they were saying is the only person that the governor can basically appoint him to prosecute the case over the current county DA. Do you feel like the county DA is doing his job right? They say Lee Merritt said he has not even spoken with the family. That is crazy to me.
The local DA up there, you could tell that they were going to be a problem on the journey to justice when they had that terrible press conference and have everyone waiting for 2 hours only to come out and say, we have no update, but we will say that the evidence makes it seem like there might be a problem charging these guys.
Right.
What? Are you a defense lawyer?
Like what the hell is going on?
I was confused, and since when do district attorneys, instead of looking at probable cause, this is the saying in the legal community, you can indict a ham sandwich. Instead of them playing prosecutor, they put their defense attorney hats on. We saw the same thing with Ahmaud Arbery down in Brunswick, where like 3 or 4 DAs were like, nah, bro, like I'm a defense lawyer today. Like, forget my duty to the public good. And it's just ridiculous. But you did hit one thing on the head, right? And people feel one thing in particular. Rather, you've been whack-a-moling on every issue today.
You know it. That's how we do.
Local elections, right? If you were to look at the statistics, and I'm into politics, not because of politics, but because that's where the power lies in society right now in America. If you look at local elections, that's your city council, that's your mayor, that's your county council. The voter turnout in those races is absolutely horrible compared to even the bad voter turnout for a House or Senate race on the state level where I'm at, or a congressional House or Senate, or the president. If you want to see changes in your local police department, you need to vote in your mayor, in your city council races. I point you to Baton Rouge, okay? Myself, Chris Stewart, we're representing Alton Sterling's family. That case is set for trial for next year, okay? During the pendency of that case, we saw a mayor ousted from office, right? And instantaneously, Mayor Broome came in. You saw policy changes almost like that, right? Mandatory de-escalation, right? Additional training, crackdown on police abuse of authority. You saw Chief Dabney leave Baton Rouge. Now they got Chief Murphy Paul, an African-American male who ain't with none of that nonsense, right? The way you affect those changes and feel them locally is your local elections. Strong mayor, strong council. Look to, again, Charlotte, protester on the streets. Now he's on Charlotte City Council. You do this stuff by voting. Donald Trump don't care about none of us. He don't care about none of us.
You know what? I don't even think the justice system does, because it wasn't designed for us. It wasn't designed for minorities, for Black and brown people. And at the end of the day, you know, I feel you. I definitely do believe we need to vote in our local elections. But we got to really know who we voting for.
Correct.
Because these people, like, they put on this facade, even all the way down to your sheriffs. And I'm a use, for example, my hometown. You might know him in Edgefield, South Carolina. Sheriff Doby. I want to say he was the first Black sheriff. I want to say, but you know, he advocated for his change. He showed what changes he wanted to make, and he was a man within the community that everybody knew, and he became a positive and a perfect example, you know, as to knowing who you're voting for. Like, just because these people get up here and they talk about certain things with their campaigns that they plan to do or want to do, y'all, these folk be lying. You know, you got to challenge these people. When I first met Mayor Pete, I challenged him. What? No, you're not about to come over here and talk to my son for a photo op. No, you gonna tell me what you want to do. Are you staying in this race or not? And based upon his answer, I knew by the end of the primaries in South Carolina, he was going to be dropped out. He was going to drop out. And damn if I wasn't right. He was gone. You gotta know who you're voting for and know about these people.
You gotta inform. I always go with this saying: knowledge is the new money. Get you
there
some.
It is. There
knowledge is the new money. Get you some. And in politics, unfortunately, right, seeing isn't always believing, because who people present to be isn't necessarily who they always are. It also doesn't necessarily vibe with their stances on important political issues. And, you know, not to go down the rabbit hole of, like, you know, Democratic Party and Black vote and Republican Party and all this and that. At the end of the day, right, every single person has certain positions in life, and there are certain issues that need to either change to make their life better or worse. And people got to quit voting against their interests. Just because somebody is popular or the most popular doesn't mean they're the best to create positive change in your life. Just because somebody looks like you, right? I'm a big advocate on, you know, supporting minorities. I'm one. I know what it's like to break into a market and to go and do these different things and be one of a few, right? But all your skin folk ain't your kinfolk. And we've seen that in various forms, right? Various forms.
Everybody
I don't want to name drop.
What he's saying is, just because they Black don't mean that they for us. Because a lot of folks, they just riding the coattails of other folks just to say they doing something.
I don't want to name drop Candace Owens, but at the end of the day, at least we know where she stands, right? I would rather know where someone stands than have a wolf in sheep's clothing. And we see a lot of that. You know, I caught a bunch of criticism early on in this president. You know, I'm a Bernie guy, you know, but I caught criticism because Kamala Harris was, you know, the African-American female in the race. I look at issues, right? And I remember, and I love her, I love her to death. Okay, I ain't got nothing bad to say about her. But on issues, V, right, when she was
well, I know where you're going with this.
California,
I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
As Attorney General,
my issue I had with her. Yeah.
And in their brief, they say, "Oh, dude, we can't let people out of prison on parole and stuff because it'll affect the state's free labor population." That's slavery, bro. Like, if you take a stance like that, and it was 4 years ago, something like that, you know, are we supposed to believe that instantaneously you're running for president and all of a sudden you're going to actively work to address issues like preventing the Lee correctional riots like we had in South Carolina, worst prison riot in the last quarter century in America? I don't think so. I don't want anybody to tell me, and what I tell citizens all the time, you don't want people to tell you. You want to look at what they've done to see the steps that they have taken match up the direction they're telling you they want to lead you.
Right.
And if you do that, you start making good picks and you rally behind the right people. That's how we change stuff. You know.
There we go. And for everybody that's coming in, this is Chop It Up Live. This is my new online show that I'm doing. Justin Bamberg, Esquire, is on. We've been talking George Floyd so far. We've gone over the charges, if they're really the right charge. We've gone over some autopsy results, and the next thing that we're going into, we're going to be wrapping up here in just a minute. We talked about knowing each other. We touched on that earlier in the conversation. Now, let me ask you, with your experience, the fact that they knew each other, whether and from my understanding, Mr. Floyd had worked at the club that they knew each other from working at together for at least a year. And there were at least 4 or 5 times that they would have worked together. Do you think that that is going to be something that will play out not in Chauvin's favor, just that small piece?
No, if anything, he'll use it. He'll be able to try to use that to his advantage. You know, to say, I didn't murder him. I knew him. I knew that was George. I was doing my job, just like you got a job and you got a job and the judge has a job and each person on the jury has a job. I have a job, and we were out there and we think George broke the law and I was doing my job. I wouldn't kill him on purpose because I knew him. And they use that to try to get to manslaughter, right? To try to get the 10-year joint. That's what I think would be the more likely scenario if I was in the position of being his defense team, right? That's where I think they would go with that.
Now I do see here also in the complaint, and also guys citing the source CNN. I said this in the beginning, and I'm saying this again. I have not watched the video. I don't plan on it. I heard a piece of it, and it broke my heart. I can't do it. Now, one of the things that I kept wondering, I was like, okay, so they called the police. And I kept saying they called him over a suspicious check. Well, according to CNN, they said that someone called 911 and reported that a man bought merchandise with a counterfeit $20 bill. And that is why 911 was called. Now, I guess I got a problem with it because I didn't think people were marking 20s anymore. That's number one. Number two, I didn't think people was holding up 20s to the light to see if you can see the little man in the background to see if it's real. That's number two. Number three, what type of policing do you just go approach a man that's sitting in the car? Hey, let me talk to you. You didn't go in. Did you go inside? Did you investigate? That's what police do. They investigate. So, I mean, those type of items have got to play a role when this goes to trial, if it goes to trial, because the way that they're talking, like they got him dead to right that he might have to plead out, but I doubt he's going to plead out. He's going to ride this all the way to the wheels off.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt, like he'll get whether he has money or not, whether or not the police union or the police benevolent association comes and pays for his defense.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Back up. The who pay for what?
Yeah, so a lot of times, and some people may not know this, a lot of times these police organizations that are out there, so for example, there's insurance that law enforcement officers can buy through like the Police Benevolent Association or some other groups, where if something happens and you need an attorney, you just call the PBA, is what it's called. Matter of fact, if you go back and you look to the shooting of Zachary Hammond in Conway, that was when the officer shot the white boy who was backing up and drove off. You can hear him on tape after he shoots this kid, and he's like, oh shit, I guess I need to call my PBA rep.
I remember that. Okay.
That's what they're referencing when they say that, the Police Benevolent Association. And that'll get you a lawyer, that'll have you somebody who can help defend you or who can walk you through what are called the Garrity statements that you give and things like that. They'll have a lawyer. And this is the other flip side that negatively impacts justice for families. When things get out of control in a city, right? Remember, when we go to trial, when Justin Bamberg goes to trial, right, and my client is V, we don't have 12 jurors that look like us. Okay?
Come on now.
Those are the facts. Right? Those are the facts.
That's where that subliminal thoughts that I just told you about earlier comes into play.
Yeah. That's when you go and now all of a sudden you've got 7 people on the jury who live in a part of town that wasn't touched by the riot and the rebellion. And they're looking at y'all like, no, that gets imputed to the families. It gets imputed to their ability to seek justice sometimes. And these are all the things, even through all the anger and the rage and the sadness, right, and the trauma, you always got to remember, bro, like, we're in this together, right? That's what, when you see the fist from the old days, right? This wasn't just like, you see it on my shirt, young, black, and elected, right? That fist wasn't like a black power only thing. It was like we're united together as a people with the fist, right? You got to remember, it's a family that needs justice, right? Before, you got a community that needs it and all that, but they burying their loved one, and we got to do everything we can to support them, even if it means putting our own emotions in the moment on the back burner, because if we want justice to happen, I mean, I had a long talk with a buddy of mine about not just this incident, but everything that's been going on. And, when I hear you talk about your sons, right? I don't have kids yet. And I'm trying to figure out, like, how am I going to have this talk with my son about, I mean, hell, what do we tell him? Like, if you got a CWP, you just need to not drive because you can end up like Philando Castile, who did everything right and still got killed. And,
I felt for my husband when he had to have that type of talk, but I felt even more for my husband and other black fathers with black sons, because it's just upsetting, because I'm like, wow, my son sometimes likes to go outside and bounce his basketball, ride his bike, or ride a scooter down to his friend's house. And I'm one of those paranoid moms. I'm texting him, where you at? Check in. Where you at, boy? Look here now. Street light's about to be on. What's going on? I'm one of those paranoid moms. But I'm also sitting here thinking like what's her name? Sky, the young lady in Aiken.
Skylar,
what if my son is walking down the street and some idiot sees my son because he's wearing a hoodie? Kids wear hoodies all times of the year. And they think that my son is doing something crazy. Because I'm telling you right now, unlike George Floyd's girlfriend, fiance, whatever she is, because she ain't got no ring, so I don't know what's going on there. Either way it goes, for lack of better words, I'm tearing shit up over mine. Over my husband, and over my kids. And I know that, I definitely feel like we're in this together, but I think that a lot of people don't feel that way anymore because they're tired. They ready the black beret, black militia this thing up because they're sick and tired of being sick and tired of being, sick and tired. And like you said, you can't imagine what you would tell your son. I don't even know. Like I told my husband this morning, I think we need to have another conversation with him because his friends, they're talking about it. They're watching everything on YouTube, everything on social media. So they know. So it's like, what do you say? And he'll be 13 next week, a teenager. And
we just got to keep pushing. We got to keep working, right? We can't give up. We no surrender, right? No quit, no give up, no matter what, right? And it's a quote by Eric Thomas. He says, pain is temporary. It can last a minute, an hour, a day, a month, a year, but eventually it'll subside and something else will take its place. If I quit, however, it will last forever, right? And we aren't just fighting for us now. We fighting for your kids. We fighting for the future. We fighting for progress. And if anybody were to ever doubt how important it is for us to keep fighting, look no further than the fact that the president of these United States, right? He ain't just the president of racist white folks. He's supposed to be the president of everybody here. But in the wake of this, he can tweet, talk about when you get to looting, we get to shooting. As though it's okay to just kill citizens over property.
Dumb racist words, if you ask me.
They are racist. And the people who don't know the background of that quote, when they start looting, we start shooting, stems from something someone said in 1968, I believe 68 or 69, at an RNC convention in South Florida, where people protested RNC having their convention there. And they literally were like, well, if they get to looting, we're going to get to shooting. It stems from that, right? And unfortunately, it's people that's woke, right? We ain't stupid. We educated folks now. Right? This is not the 1700s, bro. And it's a country full of intellectual, educated soldiers who are willing to fight the battle in the courtroom, fight the battle in the state houses, right? Fight the battle on the radio, on social media, in the streets, right? And we are more equipped with tools to win this battle.
Come on now.
Than we ever have been before.
It was
look at what MLK, Malcolm X, right? If you look at all the big civil rights leaders and the ones that no one know about, right? What they accomplished in the 50s and the 60s with no social media, with no cell phones, right? Sending written letters, like MLK was writing his boo with letters. Like it was no, hey, text message, hey, honey, I'm on the front lines, I'm gonna hit you back later, right?
Right.
And they accomplished so much. Right, we ain't got no excuse, and we better not give up. We better not give up.
And I definitely don't think people are giving up. And guys, we are going to get into the last little bit here about the facts of the case here in just a bit. And also, too, if you're just jumping in, please share. There was an incident in Columbia, South Carolina. Let me tell you something about Columbia. Columbia don't play. And it was a young lady who worked for Lexington Medical Center. And she was on social media, using the N-word. I guess she thought she could. And I don't know what happened. And she realized that she did not change where she worked. By last night, she was suspended. And by this morning, she was fired. And, one thing that I always say, when you want to make a statement, you make a statement with them pockets. That's what you do. And it also comes down to making a statement with the pocket with certain businesses where we spend our money. You know what I mean? If you spend your money with a business that don't give a damn about you, okay, then you also a part of the problem. What do you think a lobbyist, like what do these people think a lobbyist job is? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, if you're not spending money with the people that these lobbyists are working with, then ain't nobody move. You know? And what Justin was saying earlier, guys, you know, even though we may feel like, man, you know, F that I ain't voting. The local election don't feel like that. Because at the end of the day, that mayor of Minneapolis, that's a mayor I ain't never seen before. For president for him. Because and I don't feel like he's saying what he's saying because he wants to be seen. He's saying what he's saying because it's right. You know, when Trump called him weak, he was like, "Oh, you want to call me weak?" Oh, he was with the shits. And I like that, you know, and we need more of that. Really quick, guys, going into some more of the facts really quick, and we'll get ready to wrap this up. So I was telling you guys earlier, somebody called 911 and said that somebody purchased something with a counterfeit $20 bill. So when the cops got there, they learned from the store personnel that the alleged suspect was in a car parked around the corner. Okay, a little fishy, but okay. So there were 3 people in the car. George Floyd was in the driver's seat. They also say there was a known male in the passenger seat. So I take that language to say they had some type of run-in with him before. And to me, they were already judging the situation. Okay. They said that when they approached George Floyd's side of the car, there was also a female in the car in the back seat. Said that as one of the officers began speaking with Mr. Floyd, here's a quote, he pulled his gun out and pointed it at Mr. Floyd's open window and directed Mr. Floyd to show his hands. When Mr. Floyd put his hands in the steering wheel, Lane put his gun back in the holster, end quote. Now, do you feel that there was some type of hostility already? And do you think that will have a bearing upon this case?
Unnecessary aggression, right? And it's the opposite of what we've been trying to get agencies to do across America is de-escalate. Right. I don't know why, not to deviate, I don't know why when so many times we see law enforcement roll up on an African-American male and it's instant, I need to be on the defensive, right? Why do they need to be on the defensive all the time? You know, just because somebody's brown doesn't mean they're dangerous. And that's a big part of the issue. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. I can hear you.
I'm sorry, it was lightning. Come on, baby.
No, you good.
Julian, bring him in.
But yeah, man, like it's just instant aggression, right? Even again, going back to Skylar Davis here, right? 11-year-old child holding her grandma's mail. And when this older white lady approaches her, it's instantaneous aggression. It's, hey, give me my mail back. Hey, why'd you steal from me? Hey, give me that. Hey, you're not listening, so I'm going to force you. When we all know that if you switch the races, it's, excuse me, sir, could you please step out? Or, excuse me, sir, can I see your ID? It's never a, let me grab my gun and point it at you right now to show you that if you do what I think you're going to do, which is be difficult, then I'm ready to take you out.
Right.
It's disgusting. It is disgusting, man. It's dehumanizing to be treated like that all the time.
Exactly. And I think that with the Ahmaud Arbery, it definitely made me feel some type of way. Breonna Taylor, that rocked me. But this one, and it not only do I feel like it's rocked me to my core, I think it's rocked the entire Black American race here. You know what I mean? Because when you're doing everything right and you're saying, I cannot breathe, but you're still killed.
Yeah, it's sad, man. It's like if you choke a dog out, like literally it's states that have anti-tether laws, which means if you have a dog, and now don't get me wrong, I love dogs now. I got my Belgian Malinois, my babies, right? But like if you tie your dog up and their collar's too tight and it chokes them, you could get hit with a criminal penalty for choking your dog out. But meanwhile, every day in America, you got Eric Gardner's I can't breathe, choked out over cigarettes, over a loose cigarette.
Right.
Like you got George Floyd, who's already freaking handcuffed. That's the part that's not getting talked about enough. This man was already handcuffed. He was in custody, period. Like, who you know, if you are so scared as an officer that you're gonna get your butt beat by somebody in handcuffs.
He can't hear you.
Yeah, I was like, I looked, I was like,
he can't hear you.
He
can't hear you. He can't hear you.
But if you're an officer and you are so afraid of a black man, Hispanic man, or another brown man that you are worried you'll get your butt beat by a person in handcuffs, you need to go ahead, make the call on the radio, turn your gun and your badge in, and go be a Walmart greeter and work on your people skills. Because this is ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. He's already handcuffed. That's just
right. You got people out here still more pissed off with Michael Vick and not even caring that his life is totally different, but not willing to come and say that this man is wrong. Like I guess I'm at a crossroad and I'm at a point where I'm just like, bruh, when is enough enough? When is it? You know, and I really thank you for coming on, and I thank everybody for tuning in, because I think that we all need to have some type of outlet. But I really wanted to discuss these facts of this case because mainly the charges, because people are upset about it. I think that I don't think that these charges are wrong. That's okay, baby. I don't think that these charges are wrong. Why didn't they just put him in the back of the cruiser? That was Claire Ward. Well, Claire, I think the reason why, I think that allegedly they were trying to say that he was resisting getting in the vehicle. That was where the quote unquote resistance came. Okay, baby, hang tight. Where the resistance came. But regardless, the force that they used was beyond excessive. This man's dead.
Yep. That's the thing. Like resisting arrest, even if it was a counterfeit $20 bill or whatever.
Yes, please touch on that.
Like none of these things rise to the level of, if he was given due process, went to court, was tried and convicted, he ain't getting a death sentence for none of that.
Right. And a counterfeit $20 bill is a misdemeanor. A
counterfeit $20 bill, for all they know, again, right? And what's going to happen, right? We're going to see this officer, his lawyer's going to stand up. We just ask that everyone keep an open mind. And remember, everyone's entitled to innocent until proven guilty. Okay? Now, as a lawyer, the lawyer in me, and I'm big on civil rights, the lawyer in me says absolutely every single criminal defendant has a constitutional presumption of innocence until proven guilty, including George Floyd, right? Including Trayvon Martin, including Eric Gardner, right? Including everybody else that is now symbolically represented in a hashtag because someone thought they did something and then they killed them.
Right.
I thought you did something. To hell with your due process. Now you're dead. And then the killer says, I have a constitutional right. I'm guilty. It's ridiculous. It's absurd.
It's definitely absurd. And
it's
for
absurd.
those of you guys who are jumping on, this will still be on the YouTube page to watch. This will also still be on Facebook. I'm actually going to download the video and I'm going to try and post as much of it as I can to IGTV. I want you guys to go back and just watch the replay so you can see exactly what we've been discussing. Justin Bamberg has discussed a lot of the facts, because I think that we needed to have someone who understood the law well better than I do, to try to, help us break this down. I'm sorry, I read one of the comments. I saw another surveillance video where he walked across the street with two officers without resisting before they laid him down. And there's another video released today that showed three officers kneeling on him. Why haven't the other officers also been arrested and charged? Now, the county DA said other charges may be forthcoming. I'm assuming he's talking about the other officers, correct?
Yeah, I think that if you want my honest opinion, I think that the only after the horrible way the DA has acted and handled things up there, the only reason there was a charge right now today is because the city was on fire, the National Guard got called in, and we're going into a weekend. Okay.
Public pressure.
Correct, right? So by bringing the charge now, it quells things through the weekend. People still be out, but they'll chill out some, right? It gives them time to continue rushing to get through facts so they can try to make a decision that saves their face politically. Any DA or prosecutor who plays politics in situations like this, like, need to go, bro. Like, there's nothing political about this. There's right and wrong. And what happened to George Floyd, it was wrong. Somebody needs to be held accountable. But V, one thing I will say, right, when to anybody who is upset about that murder and the third-degree charge and the manslaughter charge, remember, the federal government still has the ability to step in and bring a federal civil rights violation charge. The beauty of that particular section of federal law is that if they can show that the officer willfully violated Mr. Floyd's civil rights, you get convicted of the civil rights violation. You get sentenced based on the level of the conduct. So, for example, what we did with Michael Slager, right? Michael Slager ended up getting convicted of the federal civil rights violation. And then at the sentencing, the judge gave him a murder in the second degree sentence, which gave him 20 years in prison. Right? So people need to don't let the federal government off the hook, bro. Like, at the end of the day, this happened in Minnesota, but Minnesota is a part of these United States of America. And we have a federal government that's supposed to have our back. So keep the pressure on locally, but keep the pressure on the federal government too, because if they don't start standing up for every citizen in this country, right, then what good are they? What good is DOJ, the Department of Justice, if justice is never served?
Right. Justin, I definitely want to tell you thank you so much for being on Chop It Up Live. You're my first guest.
Hey!
So, right. So it's been a great, I know, right? It's been a great show. I initially was going to do something different for my first show, but in the wake of what's happening with this case, I couldn't. So guys, I hit Justin today, and Justin, was very quick to say, okay, I'm in there. I actually was hoping I was going to have Judge Hatchett on too, but she wasn't available. I thought that would have been a really good conversation. But thank you so much, Justin, for coming on. Thank you guys for tuning in to Chop It Up Live. Today is Friday. I have not quite set what days of the week or month Chop It Up Live is going to be on. This was just the perfect day. So once I do, I'll put it out there. But thank you so much for that.
Next time you have me on, you cannot wear no Clemson orange. You can't wear Clemson orange.
See, okay, you're so right about this. So, and guys, the reason why he's saying that, Justin went to USC, my husband went to USC. I'm a Gamecock all day, but on streams, bright colors look good, and this is the first thing that I grabbed out of the closet. So let me make it known. This ain't Clemson orange. This is more like a off-brand Tennessee orange.
Oh gosh, I love it. Well, I appreciate you having me. It was an absolute pleasure. And keep doing what you're doing, right? Because we all got a role to play. And you, for as long as I've known you, have done an amazing job being a voice for the people. keeping the people informed. And for that, I'm forever grateful.
And I'm grateful to you too. And when Justin comes back, I'll be sure to wear some garnet and black. Thanks, Justin.
No problem.
All right. All right, guys. So thank you for coming on Chop It Up Live. Next episode, I'll let you know when it is. This has been amazing. Great comments. Megan, you know that I am a Gamecock fan for sure. Justin made some great comments. So, guys, make sure you go back and watch the replay. One of the things that Justin said was knowledge is the new money. Get you some. So think about it. You know, this George Floyd case has rocked us. I mean, rocked the whole country. I mean, Ahmaud Arbery messed me up. Breonna Taylor told me down, okay? But this one rocked me to my core. Come here, AJ. Come and say hey to everybody. So I don't know where he done got his daddy glasses from. So I know his daddy watching and he's going to be upset. Say hi, everybody. Don't push. So I'm AJ. Yeah, I see the rain. I know people are like, how you know what he's saying? Because us mamas know. So like I said, okay, cool. That's cool, Megan. So like I said, guys, once I figure out which days I'm gonna make Chopped Up Live, I'll post it. But in the meantime, you know, watch the replay. I hope you guys enjoy it. But now I gotta go be a mama and get up out of these clothes. You feel me? AJ, everybody said hey. Oh boy, little boy. I know he's getting big on me. Julie will be 13 next week.
You see my rain off?
Yeah, I see the rain, baby. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to Chop It Up Live. Love you guys.
But it feels like they don't go to rain.